The Battle of Bakhmut in Ukraine has become notorious as the bloodiest and most devastating urban conflict since World War II. Not long before the Bakhmut Battle, another major urban confrontation took place, involving thousands of combatants, widespread destruction, and months of fierce combat. I'm Griffin Johnson, an armchair historian, and today we'll delve into the infamous Battle of Mosul. In 2014, Iraq was in turmoil, recovering from the American-led war that had started over a decade earlier. The Arab Spring of 2011 and the subsequent civil war in Syria had destabilized the region significantly, making it a breeding ground for radicalism. In 2014, the situation escalated when the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, ISIS, a heavily armed group previously aligned with al-Qaeda, seized control of Mosul. Their leader, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, triumphantly declared the establishment of a new caliphate. In a matter of months, ISIS expanded its influence across large parts of Iraq and Syria, leaving a trail of terror, devastation, and death in its wake. Their brutal rule led to the decimation of urban populations, with many killed, and countless others forced to flee. Within just 2 years of their rule, Mosul's population dwindled from 2.5 million to 1.5 million inhabitants. Before we continue, I'd like to express gratitude to the sponsor of this video, Opera. Their latest browser, Opera One, has enhanced my productivity by making internet browsing more efficient and user-friendly. Opera One offers a redesigned interface, dynamic features, and improved functionality that adapts to my browsing needs, providing more space, easier navigation, and smoother interaction. Historical research for videos like this can be challenging, especially when I have numerous tabs open on various topics. Opera One's Tab Islands feature simplifies my browsing experience by keeping my sessions organized, making it easy to find the information I need. I also appreciate Aria, Opera One's free native AI, which can explain, explore, or translate text on web pages. Additionally, Opera One includes music players like Spotify, Apple Music, and Tidal, as well as integrated messaging platforms like Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, Telegram, and more. Support our channel by clicking the link in the description below. Download Opera One for free and experience the most efficient, dynamic, and intuitive web browser available. The rise of the caliphate did not go unopposed. The Iraqi government, along with allied militias, Kurdish forces, and international troops, launched a concerted military campaign to reclaim lost territory. By 2016, ISIS had been pushed back systematically and was forced to make a final stand in the city where their reign of terror began. Over 100,000 Iraqi and Kurdish soldiers faced off against approximately 10,000 ISIS fighters. This impending battle marked the largest military operation since the U.S. invasion of Iraq in 2003. Anticipation grew in the weeks leading up to the offensive, with U.S.-led coalition airstrikes preparing the ground for the upcoming ground assault. Leaflets were dropped on Mosul, urging young male residents to rise against their oppressors when the battle commenced. In response, ISIS fortified the city and its surroundings with an intricate tunnel system and planted ides and landmines along the roads. As the coalition's ground forces initiated their attack on October 16 from 3 separate fronts, the initial push was remarkably successful, with 20 villages liberated within the first 24 hours. Kurdish forces advanced easily to the east, while Iraqi troops and militias from the south faced tougher resistance. The rapid advance, however, was short-lived, as suicide bombers, IEDs, snipers, and oil fires hindered progress. To the northeast, the town of Bashika's retaking was delayed due to logistical issues, while in the south, the Iraqi army resumed its advance on October 19, encircling the town of Karakash and nearing the city's outskirts. Signs of panic arose in Mosul, and it was reported that many ISIS leaders were fleeing the city. Those who remained were primarily foreign fighters and individuals with little to lose. On October 20, the arrival of a large convoy of Iraqi special forces, known as the Golden Division, escalated the fighting. Their expertly trained veteran troops reinforced the Kurds to the east, reportedly eliminating around 200 ISIS fighters during the capture of Bartella. In retaliation, ISIS set the Al-Mishraq sulfur plant on fire, causing casualties. To hinder the coalition's advance, ISIS launched a failed diversionary attack on Kirkuk in the northeast. However, the coalition's advance continued relentlessly. By October 24, 800 ISIS fighters had been reported killed, and 78 villages had been liberated. The Golden Division and elements of the 9th Division advanced within 2 kilometers of the city, where they awaited reinforcements, knowing that the assault on the city was imminent. Desperate ISIS fighters forced tens of thousands of civilians to serve as human shields, particularly given Mosul's predominantly Sunni Muslim population. The Shia-dominated Iraqi government aimed to prevent tensions between the two groups, allowing only the Iraqi army to operate within Mosul while supporting militias remained on the city's outskirts. At dawn on November 1, coalition forces launched their assault on the eastern part of the city. They used artillery, tanks, and machine guns to target known ISIS positions in the Karama district. Despite ISIS's efforts, they couldn't halt the coalition's advance. By the next day, resistance in the eastern section of Gojali was reduced to a few pockets, and supply lines to Raqqa were severed. However, bad weather and continued heavy resistance temporarily stalled the offensive. Nonetheless, progress was ahead of schedule, with the Iraqi Army's 9th Armored Division entering the Al-Antizar neighborhood on the 3rd, liberating 6 more districts on the 4th. Iraqi forces in the southwestern front recaptured Hamam-o-Alu, coming within 4 kilometers of Mosul International Airport. Despite these successes, the coalition's leadership realized that maintaining this pace of advance would be challenging. Protecting civilian life and infrastructure became a top priority, requiring careful movement within the city. Nevertheless, coalition forces were determined to hold ISIS accountable for their actions. Kurdish forces, backed by coalition airstrikes, renewed their 3-pronged offensive to liberate the encircled town of Bakshika on November 7. Most of the town was retaken on the same day. Additionally, the Golden Division and elements of the 9th Division began clearing recently liberated neighborhoods and screening fleeing residents for suspected ISIS members. By the end of the month, coalition forces had secured 19 neighborhoods, roughly 30% of eastern Mosul. The coalition's air force aimed to isolate remaining ISIS fighters in eastern Mosul by destroying 4 out of 5 bridges over the Tigris River. On December 6, coalition forces, with heavy air support, launched an assault on the final strategic hold bridge, while ISIS attempted a counterattack near Al-Salam. In response, the coalition forces repelled the counterstroke, and the advance continued. The next day, the coalition advanced further. By October 24, around 800 ISIS fighters had been killed, and 78 villages had been liberated. The Golden Division and elements of the 9th Division had advanced to within 2 kilometers of the city, where they paused to await reinforcements, knowing that the assault on the city was imminent.